Terry Schultz there reporting in Brussels. Well, I want to pull in now Simon Usherwood. He is Deputy Director of UK and a Changing EU. That is a Brexit think tank. Simon, it's good to have you on the day. So I guess we're all looking to Friday, aren't we? We know that Parliament is going to get a chance tomorrow to vote a third time on Theresa May's Brexit plan. Talk to me about the numbers here. Do you see any way of Parliament passing the deal tomorrow?
Well, as it stands, I think you have to doubt the government's chances. As you were saying, the government has already lost 2 times on this vote. And even though it's a slightly different proposition that they'll be considering today, what we're looking at is a government that doesn't have a reliable majority. So during this afternoon, the Northern Irish party, the DUP, that supplies the majority to the Tory government, has said that it will vote against this tomorrow. So if we assume that opposition parties are going to carry on with their opposition, largely in the hope that this will bring about the end of the government, it's really hard to see how Theresa May can get this over the line.
Well, what will happen if May's deal then is indeed rejected again? I mean, let me ask you, should Theresa May, should she still resign?
Well, this is, I think, a really uncertain area. The deal that she made with her party yesterday was that if they got this deal through and approved and into effect, that then she would step down before we moved on to the next round of the negotiations. So if they can't do that for her, if they can't find a way of building a majority, getting those extra votes to get it through, then I think she would feel that she's within her rights, that she should stay in post. And I think really from her perspective, that given her time as Prime Minister is going to be entirely coloured by the Brexit issue, I think she feels very adamant that she needs to see this through, that she can't just leave it with a job 3/4 done. She's negotiated the deal, she's brought it to Parliament, and now she wants to get it actually on the statute books and in effect. So for her, I think she's going to want to stay in place because still it's actually her best tool for making sure that this actually comes about. Because as we know, MPs yesterday and again on Monday have been voting about the different alternative options that might be out there.
Yeah,
so this is why she's brought it back a third time.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. We know Theresa May has a credibility problem because of Brexit, but it seems that the lower house of Parliament does as well. I want you to take a listen to what happened last night in the House of Commons. We call this the highlights of a night full of nays. Take a listen.
So the noes have it. The noes have it. So the noes have it. So the noes have it. The noes have it. The noes have it. So the noes have it. So the noes have it. Order! 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 I don't order! I'm finishing!
I mean, you want to laugh, right, Simon? But you don't know if you should laugh or if you should cry. I mean, 8 alternative Brexit plans last night. Not one received a majority. And correct me if my math is wrong, but the one alternative that got the most votes was the confirmatory vote, which is basically a second Brexit referendum.
And I think it's important to unpack this a bit, because what yesterday was about wasn't about trying to get Parliament to make a choice about what it wanted to do. It was about testing the water. So the MPs were being asked for each of those 8 options, do you think it's acceptable or don't you? And as we know, and we've known for a long time, there isn't a reliable majority for any of those things. But what we're going to see on Monday next week is another round of voting, which I think they still have to work out the details of this, but we should try and force MPs to think about compromises, where they might be able to move to, what they could live with if they couldn't get their first choice. And I think there you're likely to see something get over the line. And as you say, I think it's quite striking that, firstly, the idea of another referendum did as well as it did, because until now the indications hadn't looked so good for that. And I think that reflects the frustration of the House of Commons, that they're not sure what to do. They're worried that they're losing the confidence of voters, and that this might be a way of reconnecting with people, but framing it very much as, we want you to confirm that the choices we've made for you in this long process are the ones that fit with what you wanted, rather than framing it as, we think you got it wrong the first time back in 2016, and we'd like you to try again and see if you can get the right answer.
I mean, I see what you're saying, Simon, but you also have to admit that what we saw last night was a parliament that is really struggling to find consensus, to find common ground. And that begs the question, should there be a decision made to return this issue to the British people? Is a general election going to be the solution to the Brexit impasse?
Well, that's certainly something that looks more on the cards. I think what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is a collapse in the government's authority, a lot more MPs feeling that they don't have to follow the instructions from the government on how to vote on key pieces of legislation, not least the ones around Brexit. So I think there is a sense that Theresa May is at the end of her time in office, whatever happens, and that might open up an opportunity for a general election. The thing that holds it back, though, is a real concern about what that election looks like. What's the manifesto of the Conservative Party going to be? Who's their leader going to be? Is Theresa May going to be allowed to lead them into another election after that disastrous showing 2 years ago? And also, from the Labour Party side, the main opposition, they also don't have a clear policy. No. They have real concerns about what they say. So I think there are lots of challenges before we get there. And it might be that many MPs in government like being in government, so they'll hang on as long as they can.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Simon. Simon Usherwood with the Brexit think tank, UK and a Changing EU. We appreciate your insights, and we appreciate you looking in the crystal ball with us tonight, Simon. Thank you.